Talofa, and welcome into the 135 Footy Show, proudly part of the WesWes Network, covering all aspects of the NRL competition from a fan and Polynesian point of view. Welcome in the co-host, Usos, Bob Papali'i up the wires. How you doing, mate?
Bro, it's always a good week when the Warriors get a great win like they did in the weekend. So, yeah, looking forward to having a chat about that.
Nice. Well, it's good to have you on. And welcoming back the host of the Counter Rock, Stace Tidiani. How are you, bro?
Yeah, cheers, boys. Haven't been on as much as I would have liked to this year, but I've been listening every week. You guys doing a good job, so thanks for having me on. Thanks, boys.
Yeah, nice. Also, should be double celebrations for you too, mate. It's nice to be able to switch over after the whiles and yes. So yeah, I don't have much context.
Exactly.
I probably haven't watched many of the Blues games, but just being able to see that against the Chiefs, I'm sure you and the boys will break that down in the counter ruck. Welcome, Us. Let's get straight into it. Let's start with in honor of the also Eyez is All Eyez, our award. So we'll start with you, Stace. Who stood out to you over the weekend? Your All Eyez award.
Yeah, I know we talked about this a bit just in the build-up to the pod. I think me and Bob might be on a similar page here, but I just wanted to give a shout-out to the Brisbane Broncos, just them all as an organisation, and in particular, I guess their apparel team. Firstly, I just want to say those black jerseys they had on the weekend, man, those were fire. So the jerseys were done in collaboration with the Black Dog Institute. And they're a medical research institute in Australia that investigates mental health across your lifespan. So from childhood all the way to adulthood. So I was reading somewhere that 1 in 5 people will experience mental illness of some kind. And even though there's a lot of awareness out there, there are still many that struggle to get the support they need. So the Broncos have tried to implement something over the weekend with this partnership. And they've also launched the Brisbane Broncos Wellbeing Hub, where fans can hear players' stories. They can get some support. They can get access to some of the tools and resources from the Institute to help anyone to tackle the tough times and build that resilience. So I know the Bronx have been copying it a bit for their performances on the field, but off the field, doing things like this to raise awareness for mental health and to do things like this and fundraising for, I guess, a non-profit organisation like the Black Dog Institute. I'll give them and their management some credit. So they get my all eyes on me this week.
Nice call out, Us. Yeah, those jerseys were fire too, and I didn't know the background too. So that's blackdoginstitute.org.au. But man, yeah, the cause behind it looks like it's even more powerful than those jerseys. Bobby, your All Eyez, Us?
Yeah, similar to Stace, I gave mine to the Broncos as well. Probably more for the on-field stuff this week. It was Adam Reynolds' 300th game, and the Broncos really turned up to celebrate that. Just on the field, they were amazing. And, the introduction of Reece Walsh back from injury, he added a bit of spark. He added a bit of flair. He did some of those long cutout passes that, you hadn't seen. And they just looked more organised and structured. Having just Yathas at the back there the previous week, they looked all over the place, and their attack was terrible. And they looked really in sync in that game on the weekend. Yeah, it was against probably not a strong squad in the Titans, but like we said last week, this was the perfect sort of setup game for them to bounce back from the horrible run of losses that they've had. And rightly so, they stepped up and they dealt to the Titans. Like the Titans they were trying all night, but just everything they tried to do just kept getting dismantled by the Broncos. So for me, it was all the Broncos that night. There was tries coming from everywhere. Shout out to young Josiah Karapani for coming in and replacing Cobbo. That was a big call from the coach. Managed to drop Cobbo and to put the young fella in, but he filled in admirably and he did really well. Scored a double in the weekend. So All eyes for me this week was the Bronx.
Doubling down on the Bronx. Oh, that's lucky Si's not here to rip you apart on your changes on Reece Walsh from last week, man. But good call out. Hard to avoid saying the Broncos as well. But earlier in the week, watching the Dolphins, and Herbie's been impressive, just consistent. So I'm calling out Herbie Farnworth for, just his performance on the weekend really stood up and leading that Dolphins squad, and just all those young players just seem to be kind of clicking now. And I was looking at Herbie and just thinking about the Broncos, like, man, they're missing that consistency. But yeah, the black jerseys were on fire on Saturday. So, early in the week watching Herbie, I'm giving him the flowers for myself as my all eyes player. Straight over to Kaea Kele. I'll go first with probably off-field, Adam O'Brien. So after the game, if you guys will touch on that game, maybe the Knights and Manly, a game of two halves, but man, the Knights took me back to when Dane Gagai was in tears from the crowd, and that halftime getting booed off, and they mentioned it to Adam O'Brien, and he, man, like Cy touched on it, like just the cost for fans to get out there and your team. The fans go there and put money on the line, and for him to turn around and say, those guys that are bullying them and then cheering at the end, they know nothing about rugby league. And so there was a huge backlash against him. I was like, yeah, and even Ponga's like, oh, hey, man, do not include me with your comments. Yeah, because I guess the players understand that's your fan base. This is why you play. Like, they're already up there for. Yeah, so that was a Kaea Kele moment for me, for Adam O'Brien, but also where, those players are pulling him out of for a long time, last 5 years, man. Like, he seems to be just getting by, and they seem to keep getting him into the 8, and they, with a performance like that, could pull them back through to the 8 again. That's we're usually looking at that logger jam that the teams are stuck in. Like after that 8, everyone's pretty much logger jam on the same points. And that's where we'd usually be looking, like trying to, if we can beat them. And so it's interesting. That's not even a thing, looking at where those teams sit right now. But my Kaea Kele comes to Adam O'Brien and the Knights. Bobby, your Kaea Kele for the weekend.
My Kaea Kele goes to the Dragons. They were abysmal against the Finns in the weekend. The Finns
unfortunate with CTA, Stace.
Got him in after all that break, -1. So
yeah, and then he re-injured his hammy.
Straight in, straight out.
No money for the Dragons this week, unfortunately. I mean, they were terrible. I mean, they allowed 1, 2, 3, 4 guys from the Finns to score try doubles. Isako, Farnworth, Lemuelu, Hammer. Like Isako, Farnworth, and Hammer, yeah, but man, Connolly scoring 2 tries. I was like, what the? If you've ever done those multis where you just put on all of the back 3.
Caleb must have carved up.
I was like, nah, not in this game. That guy's been Tanas. Anyway, my Kaea Kele was the Dragons. They were a shit show, man.
Yeah, fair call. With the amount of stars as well, I had to give him as a close second Kaea Kele too. Stace?
Yeah, good shouts there, boys. I agree with all of that. I just wanted to say from my side, with us being in New Zealand, the Sky Sport coverage that we get is predominantly the coverage from Fox Sports. And I thought they were just way over the top in their gushing over young Lachie Galvin. So there's no doubt that the kid's, he's talented, but he's played 32 games. I just had a look now, and he's won nothing except for a wooden spoon with the Tigers. But all we got pre-game, halftime, full-time. I watched this Matty Johns snippet with him doing voiceovers.
Yeah, was that a Matty Johns breakdown?
Yeah. And all we heard was how awesome and talented Lachie Galvin is. Maybe in 10, 15 years' time, we'll look back and he could be one of the greats. But there's a lot of hype for this young teenager who really hasn't done anything. So we've seen this sort of over-the-top media hype for youngsters before. So Reece Walsh, who you talked about earlier, Bob, He's been hyped up. Joseph Suali'i's another one. Dave Fafita, who we talked about sort of in the pre-pod. He's a young guy who got hyped up. Think of Josh Schuster. Each of them have been sort of the next big thing with mixed careers so far. So I don't know if the media hype did anything but for all of those other guys, except make them all appear a little bit overrated throughout periods of their career due to that media fanfare. So for me, my Kaea Kele goes to Fox Sports and their over-the-top media coverage for, you know, a kid that's walked out on his own team and has achieved not a hell of a lot. So I just thought it was over the top. So Fox Sports coverage of Lachie Galvin gets my Kaea Kele for the week.
Nice. Stace says, nice to finish to the Kaea Keles because, I mean, I had as a topic, but you're right. Like I guess our view of the game is filtered through Fox Sports eyes. Like, well, I don't know. 9 was horrible for Origin. I hated it. And maybe it's just because of the, but yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, it is filtered through that. But you're right. Like I had a point about Galvin because now even the backstories come out, but it's still all about Galvin. So that, you know, Braithen Naster's doing a real close up at the way he's saying Toby Sexton didn't even know he's going to be playing 9 until he was told to play 9 during the game. Galvin's coming to him saying, yeah, you're jumping in a hooker. And he thought he was joking. So Sexton's like, oh yeah, I didn't know I was playing 9 until he told me. And then it shows visions of Reid Marnie, you know, sitting by himself in the changing room. But again, all about Lachie. On the flip side, they start reporting about how he changed the dressing room with a private concession with the boys and how critters come out. But again, yeah, so it's just a lot of noise and, yeah, focus around the kid. Again, though, we kind of back the players, you know. Otherwise, it's a big business and they just grind through these kids. So if they're not talking about these players, but you're right, the ones when they get so much spotlight, it becomes a lot of pressure and a lot of huge expectations on kids that haven't done anything. And so people are just constantly waiting for them to do this amazing thing because of the price tag and of all the fanfare that's happened. So, we'll see what comes of that. And other news, boys, Big Papa, highest cap Raider, 319. Your guys' performance, your thoughts on Big Papa? Bobby, will go with you. Any thoughts of just your memories of him over the years? But yeah, especially just that game and the tribute, what he means to the Raiders, what you could see, man.
You can obviously see what Josh Papalii means to the Raiders squad, the coach, the organisation. He's been loyal to them for 15 odd years now. And he started as a centre, I think is what I read. And we've seen similar great Raiders start at centre, end up in the forwards. Ruben Wiki comes to mind. You talk about talismanic players, and you talk about players that are able to inspire their team to victories, and Josh Papalii for the Raiders has been one of those. He's also been a stalwart servant for Queensland during that run of victories where, he came up and sort of took over the reins from guys who were there before him, like Petro. And he's come and he just slotted straight in and just took over from that meter eater type role that Petro was for Queensland, and he did the same sort of job. There's nothing flash about Josh. You pass him the ball in 10, 12, 13 meters is what you get every hit up, and that's exactly what you want, and that's what he sort of provided in the weekend. And he scored 2 tries, and you could see that he was enjoying playing his footy. There was a comment I read where he's unsure whether he's going to be there at the club next year. He's coming off contract. And, if this is going to be his final year as a Raider, he's going to do his best to go out on top. So, good on him for the career that he's had. I hope they're able to re-sign him again, because he's still pumping out really good numbers. And he's still up there with the top 5-6 props in the comp. So, Yeah, I mean, it was a great game to watch, and you could really tell that Canberra came to ruin the party for who did they play? They played South Sea. Was it South?
Yeah, actually, it
Who
was a
did they
good
play? Yeah,
they were
and
coming from behind.
it was South. I think it was. Who did they play? Yes, it was South, because it was close. It was such a close game. I think the Rabbitohs were ahead in that game at the start, and then Raiders came up. It was close, back and forth, 12-all, and then next minute they just ran away with the game. Sorry, Caleb, that was your team, but yeah, it was meant to be for the Raiders, and just that reaction of Ricky Stewart running up and down the sideline, crying when Papali'i got that conversion. Yeah, like he's the man for the Raiders, and good on him for the career that he's had. I hope that he's able to get re-signed for another year, because the talk is he might go over to Super League, and that's probably not a bad option, because I read this morning that Jared Waeru-Hargreaves was celebrating a Champions League victory with whole KR. They took out that
historic victory
competition. Yeah, first in 40 years or whatever it was. So not a bad option for him if it happens, but it'd be cool to see him stay. Even better if he's able to come back and help Queensland.
I was going to say, Stace, your thoughts? Was we're going to pull him out of retirement? Pull an Alfie?
Alfie Langer did it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, when I did my Kaea Kele, I was critical of Fox Sports, but it's really, Fox Sports is really Sydney-centric. So all of the players in the Sydney-based competitions, like Lachie Galvin and all the rest of it, they get a lot of the headlines and all the rest of it. If you think of someone like Josh Papalii, who's played in Canberra, that's almost like playing for the Warriors in a lot of ways. You're not getting a lot of media coverage. You're not getting a lot of plaudits. But you look at his record, most capped raider, 319 games, just looking at that, 23 origins, 21 tests. That record stacks up against anyone that you want to chuck out. So you think if he played for a team like the Roosters or the Rabbitohs or one of those Sydney-based teams, Fox Sports would be lavishing a lot more praise on him than he's probably getting, because I think he is one of the all-time greats. So I'm glad he got his moment in the sun. He was he got that 2 tries and kicked that goal. Given the career he's had, he deserves that moment. So good on him. One of the all-time greats, and probably one of the, you think about the Raiders, who they've had some amazing players, and he's right up there with some of their best players as well. So yeah, good on him.
Yeah, with that record too, Ricky put him in his top 5. Ricky doesn't count himself, but man, it's a big call for Ricky to say, he's one of his top 5 men that he put in the Raiders. So it's like, damn, says a lot about the guy. So yeah, real awesome call out to Big Papa. You're right, Stace, though. Just that filter. We don't get much talk about the Wires, but man, after Saturday night, everyone was talking about them. Man, you boys jump in, because there's so much to break down, so much to like about that game. Brandy talked about their, what do you call it? Just a simple game, kick, chase, tackle, and they played that beautifully in the second half. But come to you first, Bobby. Just your view of that game. I think we said it was going to be a tight one, eh?
Yeah, because all of their wins have been super tight. And I think that's probably the first one in 7 or 8 games where they've won convincingly. And it added like 30-odd points to their points differential. So then they're on 35 or something stupid like that. And yeah, they were just clinical. What I enjoyed about the Warriors is it looked like they were having fun, and it looked like Adam Blake really missed playing for them.
Man, you could see that. Hey?
It looked like, because he was ineffective. I was watching him during the game, and his hit-ups were like real. Yeah, I got that vibe from Adam. It was like, whoa, this guy's like not running as hard into the line. He's running like, man, I really miss playing with these guys. Like, that's the vibe that he sort of got. Yeah, I don't know what needs to happen to the Sharks, but they were favourites to win that game against the Warriors. The Warriors were...
It's like $2.30 to something, $1.70 or something.
And, yes, this victory probably does make people think a bit more seriously about the Warriors in end of season conversations because all of those previous ones were super tight. But this one against the Sharks, who were running fifth on the ladder at that time, and it was convincing. It wasn't even close. Like the Warriors smashed them all over the park, and Nico Hines just looked like he was trying too much. They just didn't have an answer for our young forwards. They were talking about Adam having a stink game, but the fact that he was there at the Warriors as a mentor for these young guys, like for Dimitri, he's pretty much done what he needed to do in mentoring these young forwards who are now, the Warriors team's reaping the benefits of having guys like...
a bit of pride as well, playing like...
Yeah, absolutely. Like the master coming back to play against his students, but he's getting schooled. They've got a new sensei now. It's like Fisher Harris has come in with a different sort of mold of prop. He doesn't do the whole big smash and get those yards where he just punches through the line like NFL Blake does. But there's lots of off the ball stuff that Fisher Harris does, and there's lots of stuff at training that he does. Apparently, everyone's talking about his professionalism that whole time when he was out injured. Like, he was still there setting the standards for the boys. I really enjoyed watching Leka again coming into a bit more of himself. I thought the interview that Darryl Halligan did at the end was terrible.
I missed it, but I heard it was horrible.
It was terrible, but he's a young kid. That's exactly how he's gonna talk. Like, everyone's coming around behind him and slapping his head and just laughing at him, and he's like, "Oh, these guys are making me nervous." Just says that. But like, his answers to Darryl's questions weren't even answering what Darryl had asked them. So I was like, okay, but young kid, goes to show that he's not, he's not media trained. He's not there to, and he didn't talk about himself. He was talking about the team, and he was talking about, it is really cool to get these big minutes. Like, that was his focus. Was, I'm just happy to get more minutes playing 80-minute games. Yeah, didn't think I'd have it in me, but that's their focus. They've got a really good balance of experienced guys with Fisher Harris, RTS, wrapping that experience around these young guys, and man, they're firing on all cylinders. One of the good things I like about the guys that are firing in terms of Aaron Clark, guys like, what's his name, Maratani Okore, these are their second stints at the Warriors, where they sort of started, they left to get other teams, and then they've come back, and they've come back really good. So, man, they're looking really good, and the Sharks weren't an easy beat team. Like, the scoreline might have shown that, but it was just a really, really good performance from the Warriors, and it's good to see them get one of these kinds of victories over a really, really good team away. Like, they were talking about that this is like a record for the Warriors in Sydney. They've never won this number of games in a row in Sydney ever. So I was like, oh my goodness, these guys they're getting records for the existence of the Warriors organization. So,
yeah, I know.
Is that a sign? Is that a sign?
Stacy, is it? Can you finally say it? Oh man,
yeah. Oh man, I can feel the energy rising and the belief building with all of you, with your words there, Bob. I think you hit the nail on the head. I agree with all of that. So that was quite good analysis. But the Warriors, they are building quite nicely. You think they lost Mitch Barnett for the season, then Wade Egan prior to kickoff. So those are two of our best players. So to play the fifth place Sharks at Shark Park, I know the Warriors went in as underdogs, but that was arguably their best performance of the year. And when you consider they're without, the other two key guys that I mentioned, the Warriors have got that, that next man up type mentality that's required to excel in a competition like the NRL. Because you got to know injuries are just part and parcel of the game. You're going to lose players. That's just a fact. So to not be reliant on one or two key guys, I think that's crucial for the Warriors going forward. So I'll be honest, I'm ecstatic with where we're at. a lot of the doubters have been sort of waiting for the Warriors to drop a little bit and not really believing that there's a genuine top 4 side there. But we're over halfway through the season now, and the Warriors feels like they're getting better. They've had those close games, which you talked about, Bob, and it feels like defensively they've been good, but they haven't quite got their attack right. So they put 40 points on this week. I think they scored 36 last week. They're fixing the areas that they need to fix on throughout the season. So, should I say it or should I wait a couple more weeks? I'll just hold off a bit. But yeah, it's a good time to be a Warriors fan. I would say that at least.
Check them. Can we at least start checking the flight deals? See if there's like some specials going.
Well, we've booked our accommodation because you can get free cancellation. I don't want to get too far in, but me and Des booked our accommodation already.
Nice,
just in case.
Yeah, man, it's looking real good for the boys. Like all those points. Just the boys stepping up. But Fish, like, just such a true leader, eh? Like they just watching the press conference and just the way he speaks about like just such a shift in the culture. You're saying like, being able to just allow the boys to be themselves. And then when it goes on field, they just kind of do what they do. And just seeing the way that, he must bring what they have at the Panthers. You look at the boys like Romy and all of them, Critter and that, just such a flamboyant kind of, just kids. And I guess that's that kind of culture they're bringing through. Like the same, like I guess this is where you talk about that next man up culture and what they're building at the Warriors. You look at those junior grades, New South Wales Cup under 20s taking it out. Like they're doing something real special across the club. So that's a good sign for the Warriors overall too, that they're actually concentrating on across the board and the future of the club. So real good signs, just those leaders and things that we probably don't see, off the field happening in the background too is real good signs for just the longevity. We are we're all waiting for that magic premiership and that moment, but also just for the club and the generations to come, just real cool just seeing what they're putting in, what they're getting out, like attracting women to the NRLW as well. So it's man, on and off the field it's looking real good. But yeah, what they're building and just the culture there, you can see it's a different Warriors team, and so that's real exciting, like the way they're building too. Speaking of teams that are building, the Broncos versus the Titans, let's move on before we get carried away with the boys. Also say prayers out to Ezra. He's still watching his boy, making sure he's healthy, so shout out to the Uso. He couldn't be on, but thought he'd jump on just because of his Broncos, seeing them backflip. I don't know if it's off the back of that jersey. I think they pulled out a little All Blacks tight head as well, these guys. So I don't know if they're really just playing off their jersey or what. But man, those jerseys were fire too. They look mean. But yeah, I mentioned like Herbie, they're missing in the middle. But Shiva Sharky, his first try, he looked good. Yeah, Bobby, your thoughts? You called out Reece Walsh. You both called out the Broncos, but it's one game and that was the Titans. How do you is it, I don't know, is it just things starting to click? Just Reece Walsh trying to get that timing right? Is that where you saw the difference?
I'll be honest, it's only one game and it was against the Titans. Like I said last week, it was a perfect setup for them to bounce back and to sort of show to their fans that they are more than capable of dealing to teams every week. And that's how the Broncos, with the roster that they have,
yes,
that's how they should be playing. And they should be playing a hell of a lot better and consistently like they did against the Titans of the weekend. Yes, they had Reece Walsh back. It was the Reece Walsh show a little bit. But to be honest, it was probably more the Tony Stagg show. That guy looked like he was in a mood. And if New South are looking for centres, that guy put his hand up like he was the man, and he was manhandling the guys that were marking him. Poor bloody Kieran Foran was on his side, and that Kieran Foran's old man legs is just going to get stepped, whacked, whatever. He just couldn't keep up with whatever Tony was trying to do. Yeah, that first Shibasaki try was from a Reece Walsh long ball. Like you got this long ball from Reynolds or Tony, and then Walsh did this long ball to Shibasaki, and it looked like nothing. He was just coming in on the angle, caught the ball, and ran off and scored a try. And then similarly, I don't think I've seen Carrigan play like that footy in a while. Like he hasn't played confident. He was stepping through gaps. He was doing no-look flip passes.
Yeah, that was him to Corey Jensen, eh?
Yeah, and I was like, Jensen, damn it, he wasn't on my multi. It's like, hey, but that's the only way that Jensen will score a try through the middle because Carrigan's in the middle ball playing. And I haven't seen Kerrigan ball play like that for ages. He's just been a battering ram for the Broncos of late. And
Billy just said, hey, you can just try out a few little things. I want to try something next Wednesday.
Yeah, but like I said, Tony Staggs, he was the man. He had 2 line breaks, 7 tackle breaks. There was that run that he did where he jumped up and looked like Tino was going to score a try. And he just jumped up, snatched the ball just as Tino looked like he was going to catch it. And then it was caught in goal. And he ran up, quick tap from the 20. And then he ran it all the way to the opposition 40. And I was like, what? These guys are terrible. But you mentioned the scrum penalty in that second half. Like, everything was just going for them. Like, it must have been the jersey. Because Kelly Walters kicks a 40-20. Josiah, young guy, comes up, steps in for Cobbo. That was probably the saddest part is I think Cobbo wanted to be part of that match just to help celebrate Reynolds' 300th game and then handled it like a pro. He was helping the boys with the warm-up and stuff. But there's all sorts of rumours swirling about now about Selwyn and where he might end up. And Caleb was getting me, I think he was having a meeting with Wayne Bennett. Not like... Who's telling you these lies, sir? He might be at South. You just want him at South. So, yeah, everything came right for the Broncos in that one game, but I wouldn't bet my house on them being in the top 8. Like, they need to play like that consistently and a bit more against opposition that's not the Titans. Like, yeah, it was a great game for them. Good on you, but can you do it again? That's what the Warriors have been doing week in, week out consistently over the last 6-7 weeks. So the Broncos need to emulate how the Warriors are playing. That's right, Simon. I said that.
I agree with all of that. Well said, Bob. I think I watched bits and pieces of the game. I was watching some of the Super Rugby quarterfinals, so I only caught bits and pieces of it, but it's tough to know, did we learn more about the Broncos or do we learn more about the Titans? Are the Titans that Kaea because they're coming last, or are the Broncos back? I'm still not sure about that. I mean, I think we'll learn a lot more about the Broncos over the next month. So they've obviously got the bye this week, but then they've got the 5th place Sharks, the 3rd place Warriors, and the 1st place Bulldogs in these 3 games. So how they fare in that sort of mini stretch could define their season. And if they're up and down like they've been, which Bob, you mentioned, they could be out of it or they could be right back in the race. But I don't know where the Broncos are at. They're just the highs and the lows. They've blown teams apart and then they've been poor. So, I think Patrick Carrigan mentioned in the interview where, it's easier for them to get up this week. It's Adam Reynolds' 300th.
Yeah.
That Black Dog week or whatever it was, which we talked about earlier. You can get up for those types of things, but, you're not going to have those reasons every week. So it's just, can you get up week in, week out like the Warriors do when there's no special occasions or whatever,
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure about the Bronx. They've got the capability to be amazing. It's just that consistency. So like I said, this next month will tell us who they really are with that schedule they got.
Nice, boys. Unfortunately, Dawes isn't here to break down his team. But speaking of teams, the team lists are out. And I'll let you go first, Stace. Like you said, there's probably not much for you to add. But a few ins for your New South Wales Blues, going with Toika Manu. I guess a lot of people were calling on probably Matangi to get the nod, or even Olakatu. But I see Matangi's been pulled in now.
Yeah, quite easy to pick a side off the back of a win. So Barnett, obviously out injured. That's a big loss for New South Wales, and even bigger loss for the Warriors. And I think Stefano, he was in the squad in game 1. I think he was 19th man. So he knows the systems. He comes straight in. I'm a big fan of Keon for the Rabbits, like you mentioned. So I'm glad he's in the extended squad because he has earned that right. And then maybe he could have snagged Stefano's bench spot. But all in all, I'm happy with the team. I think Stefano has worked hard on his defence. So I heard someone, I can't remember who it was, they were talking about it. When he came over from the Tigers, and when he first got to Melbourne training, he was trying to do all these offloads and all this attacking style. And Bellamy just yanked him offside and said, I don't want any of that. You got to get your defence. I want you to fix your defence. Your defence is crap. Whatever they taught you on the Tigers is Kaea. Yeah, so that's why he's sort of been brought on a bit slowly at the Storm. They want him to be better defensively. To his credit, he's worked hard on his game and he's got his defence a lot better. And I think that's what got him in the squad. You know, you think coming off the bench, they've got Payne Haas who's going to play big minutes. You know, I'm not sure how much minutes Stefano's going to get as that sort of 4th, 5th middle. So just come on, make all your tackles, do your job for the 25 minutes you get, and that's good enough. So happy for him to be there. And I'm quietly confident that we're going to smoke you. So, yeah, that's a good team we got. Pretty obvious game plan. Just run through Queensland like we did in game 1 and go from there.
He all tweaked his hamstring.
He did. So Jacob Carraz's been called into the wider squad, and that's a like-for-like replacement, which I like. I think when we did our preview last time I was on, I wanted Carraz in there. Just he's a strong carrier,
was underdone at the
like
time,
and like Lomax. So I like the like-for-like style of selection. So yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Nice. Bobby, your thoughts on the dropping of DC out of the squad? I think you mentioned it, but it's happened.
Yeah, look, you can't be at the top of your game. Like you want them to be as long as possible, but everyone's got to age out, man, and it just looks to me like DC is playing rocks and diamonds at the moment in Clubland. Like he's 1 week he's a superstar and he looks like he deserves to be in there, and then the game on the weekend where I think he played himself out of his jersey, to be honest, and he just wasn't able to sort of wrestle the momentum back for Manly in that game against the Knights, and it was a terrible comeback. The way Manly, it looked like Manly were just going to run away with that game, but like DCE wasn't able to do anything, like Brooks wasn't able to do anything, and yeah,
Lehigh was a big loss though. Like I think he's right at the beginning.
They lost him real early. And I mean that's probably something that you could look at as a reason why Manly lost. But DCE, a proud player that he is, and the caliber of player that he is, you won't use that as an excuse. He'll be disappointed that he wasn't able to lead Manly through that period where Lehigh went down, and they weren't able to defend that comeback in that second half against the Knights. I think it's a brave call from Billy to drop not only the halfback but the captain. Like he's the captain, you know, and for Munster to now step in and to put Dearden in it at 6. I mean, they had to change something up from game 1. It was obvious that nothing was working in that first game, and they need to show a bit more intensity, I feel. They brought Capewell back in as, his form for the Warriors has been outstanding. How they use Capewell, I'm not sure. I don't know where he's going to be
I like
slotting
the
in.
changes actually and the rotation. I think it's a better balance. It's exactly what we're going to need.
Well, they need that balance. I think they need to provide some impact off the bench. Like, that's probably what was missing in that first game. I felt. I think the starters from both teams didn't really sort of fire as much as you usually see in State of Origin. Like, the first 10-minute period is usually hammer and dongs,
boring.
man.
I think it was New South Wales just bringing down the level of a State of Origin, trying to make
two
it
different games.
like Stacey said, like it's a
Latrell
Panthers game
catch and
plan.
pass.
So they kind of brought it down to the Panthers level of just where the Panthers are at, probably where they dragged.
Like, I think there were probably a few key things that went well for New South in that first half, like that quick catch and pass from Latrell that set up that try. That was all New South needed to get onto the front foot, and then the momentum just sort of built up. But like I said last week, like, I found the game boring because I thought New South probably had it in them to put 50 points on Queensland, and that never happened. And then also that feeling that you normally get when you feel like, oh yeah, Queensland's going to pull one out the bag. I didn't get that feeling either. Like, it never came. I was waiting for that. I'm watching the boys and I'm waiting for that to kick in, and it just never kicked in. So I was like, oh damn, it's going to be floodgates. But then that never happened either. And, New South Wales will be disappointed that they didn't put more points on. I think Queensland were probably lucky that they didn't lose by heaps. One of the ones the selections that I'm still a bit miffed about is Loiero from Storm. I thought that guy
Billy's loyalty.
Game one.
Billy's loyalty to the Storm's contract. There's a contract clause there somewhere.
I hope that they switch up Harry Grant for like the first game. They needed to bring Dearden on a bit earlier, I thought, because Harry Grant was getting found out all over the place, man. And having Bellamy in that New South Wales coaching squad, that was the key to just clamping Harry Grant. Like, he was locked down, man. They had so many guys just on him the whole game, and he was never really able to unleash his potential. I hope that he can do that in game 2. But it remains to be seen. We probably need a hell of a lot more from our outside backs. Hammer needs to fire a bit more. Kalen was probably trying a bit too much. KP, Val Holmes. I was thinking, Val Holmes was starting to remind me of Gagai, and there's a reason why Gagai's been put to pasture too, because he's too old now. He still plays with a lot of vigor for the NRL squad at the Knights, but man, Val's playing in St. George at the moment, and those guys got hammered last week.
That's for St. George's fault.
It's like, why are all our Queensland players going to all these Gaia-ass New South teams, picking up these Gaia habits?
It was a long-term New South Wales plan. That's what it is. Stace,
went for the money, Mike.
You guys are sitting in the hot seat right now. It's probably a rare thing for you to be part of right now, looking at probably going back to back. So it must be exciting for you. But how, I guess, when it comes to moments like this, when like this goes back to what Queensland built their history. This is what they talk about in changing rooms of these kind of games where everything's stacked against them. Look, I mean, we kind of called an impressive, game 1 team when you looked at it. It's like, man, that's pretty much like being able to pick the best number 7s in the game today in your halves. Like, they're just spoiled for choice, and it showed in game 1. And yeah, a team with their backs against the wall, making un-Queensland-like calls. How do New South Wales make sure that they're ready, that they don't let this slip into being something they should have secured, put in the bag, and then looking at, we have to win game 3, a must win all of a sudden because we lost sight of how important this game really is?
Well, I think Queensland have sort of shot themselves in the foot a little bit. They're renowned for their Queensland spirit, picking guys who've been lambasted in the media, like Cherry Evans has, picking champions and saying, hey, look, prove why you're their champion. New South Wales will always like write them off and shit on them. And then they come out and play really good, backs to the wall. That Queensland spirit's been the thing that from a New South Wales side, from an outsider, I've always respected that they can dig deep for the jersey. So for them, and they've always been pick and stick and saying, I trust you in this jersey. They've changed their selection philosophies to similar to what New South Wales does, where they're chopping and changing. I understand why they make changes, to be fair. You think Queensland, they've lost 3 straight Origin games. So you can't keep picking the same guys and hoping for a different result. You have to sort of change it up a bit. And saying that, I don't think Cherry Evans is the one that needs to be changed. You look at New South Wales, how they play. It's no secret to the style we're going to play. We've revealed our game plan, the same game plan this year, which is the same game plan we had last year. Just run through Queensland. So it's Payne Haas. Then you got the back 3, Lomax to all Edwards. Just relentless carries and that yardage game and playing off the back of good territory. So at least with Cherry Evans there, at least he has the long kicking game to get them out of trouble once New South Wales starts winning that territorial battle. And we will win that territorial battle. So if Queensland are pinned in their own half for large chunks of the game and playing off the back foot, like they were in game 1, like they were in game 3 last year and game 2 last year, the last 3 games that's happened, I don't see Munster or Dearden having that long kicking game to bail them out. So I get they needed changes, but DCE, I'm not sure he's the one that needs to be dropped. So I'll question that move. Have you guys got any thoughts on that strategy-wise?
I think the forwards. So I think you underestimate. People probably look at Mo and go, "Why did they go with Mo and Tino?" Like you're saying, that's the game plan, and you get Haas and Max King now to just run through the middle of these guys. I think you underestimate the Origin jersey and forwards. Like you talked about it, like the Broncos when you're high on emotion and when things are on the line. Like this is where these players, you see Payne Haas can have a bad game, like the way he backed up after Origin 1, that Broncos game. He was lackluster, and so that these guys can have a bad game. And I think off the back of passion, I think that nullifies it. Whereas the skill level you get from the difference between a Dearden and where DCE is at the moment, I think that's why you make that change. I think people are shocked at the forwards, like you say, it's an easy game plan and that's where they're going to go. So I think that's an easier challenge to fix because, forwards can get up for that battle.
If you talk about Mo, and you talk about Tino, they're good players. We're talking about the 2 front rowers from the team coming last. So we haven't seen, if you want to say Cherry Evans hasn't shown it, what have we seen from these guys? And that's no disrespect to them because they're quality players. But we're talking about 2 front rowers from the team currently favourites to win the wooden spoon. And we're somehow thinking that these guys are going to turn it around when Cherry Evans couldn't. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced about that either.
Yeah. And I think we'll be having a long conversation after game 2. I think we should record after game 2. We'll see if we turn up again.
I think Roger would be really
Bob, any thoughts on those points as well? Just that contention around why Dearden, because I think that is a good point. There's been a lot of contentions and it seems to be a lot of target on DCE and maybe that says, especially as the captain and the leader, on that big kind of point there.
I think it's lots of talk was around how DCE's been the scapegoat for that first game loss. I think it's unfair. To be honest, I'd probably put the loss more to Harry Grant not having any go forward. He was getting locked down, and because there's no go forward from Harry Grant, the forward packs not doing as much. There's no platform for DCE or Munster to do anything. So those guys are reaching into the depths of their bag of tricks to try and do amazing things from their own 20 and 30 meter line. So it's man, and we were getting hammered. New South, they've got the ability to get all the way down into a half, but then they just hammer the line. And so we've pretty much run out of tackles by the time we get to the 30. And like their line speed was amazing in game one, I thought. And Queensland just didn't have an answer for it. I think bringing Dearden in, he's a bit more of a running halfback. He's a bit more direct. I guess the difference with having Dearden there is he's a lot younger. He's not going to have
those younger legs.
Mitchell Moses or Cleary running around him. Like, they could probably run around DCE or put some moves on him. I don't know. But one of the things you did bring up was that this is a really big game for New South to lose. Like, if they lose this, then the pressure goes right back onto them to perform in game 3.
Exactly.
And I know Stace is like, of course, you're going to back your team in every game.
Exactly.
Well, hold on a second. You guys talked about how they should have wasted Queensland in game 1 based on what happened. Right, but let's be realistic. New South Wales has only won 3 games this millennium at Suncorp. So it was more of a, let's just get a win. Now, what happens normally in Origin is Queensland will win at Suncorp and we'll win our game at Sydney. So game 3 is in Sydney. So I think it was just important to get a win however you get it. But there's so much more improvement in New South Wales, like you said, because we could have wiped the floor with them. I think there was a conservativeness because of our record at Suncorp is poor. And I think we'll see more upside, particularly at that game 3 in Sydney. So even if we lose game 2, which I think that's possible just because of the nature of Origin. I know I just rubbished your point earlier, Tana, but I semi-agree with it. The passion of Origin means, even when Queensland won 8 in a row, there was only one whitewash, and that was a far superior team. It's just the hunger and the passion of, we have to win at all costs, game 2 type mentality. But I think New South Wales will 100% win game 3 at Sydney. So it's either 2-1 to us or 3-0 to us, depending on how he's going this game.
All right, we'll let you end with that. Nice. We'll let you take that for game 2 preview. Let's jump into
your Queensland-centric podcasts the last couple of weeks.
Well, we've got to get some news out there for us. Eyez Kalava Cup, let's go review that quickly. Clutch City getting a win over Ultimate Manly, still unfortunately glued to the bottom of the table at 10th. Nacho taking on someone Mandingo picking it up, but still stuck at the bottom of the 6th. So he's bottom of the top of the table. God Squad just taking out Kamasua. Bob, he's his Steppers 700 club, mate. Nice work. Against Stace, I don't know what happened to your team there, mate. Leading the table. Not going well. Did you lose last week to Roger as well? What's going on, mate?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, shout out to Bob. He got me twice now, so...
Let's do these buy rounds.
You don't make the playoffs because I don't want to see you in the playoffs, mate. You got my number for some reason.
So yep, the table's looking pretty good. With Stace still stuck there at the first. God Squad, Nacho, or Madden, myself and Mandingo rounding out the 6. The rest of the boys sitting outside that. And the 10. Let's jump straight into the previews, guys. The Sharks and the Horrible Dragons are looking to bounce back. Bobby, your thoughts on that game?
It'll probably be a Sharks bounce back, I reckon. The Sharks are too good to play 2 stink games in a row. And Dragons are just, they're piss poor at the moment. I think there's too much nepotism going on at that club with Flanagan having his son in there at halfback. That boy is terrible. He's terrible. Makes some bad decisions. And he might do one good call every 2 or 3 games, but otherwise he's super average, Kyle Flanagan at half. And I think that he probably needs to get hooked by his dad. There's definitely not an Ivan Cleary, Nathan Cleary thing going on there. I know he'd probably want that, but that's not the way it's happening at the Dragons, and I don't think he's that right halfback for them. So yeah, Sharks for me, probably not even close.
I agree. I'd probably say the same. Stace, your thoughts, Dragons, Sharks?
Yeah, I think all 3 of us are in agreement there. So the Sharks, they're quite a tough team to gauge. You know, you think they're sitting 5th, but they've been hovering in around that sort of top 5, top 4 for a few seasons now. So they've got no Origin players. So it feels like they've got, a limited squad, and, the coach Footy, he's got them operating close to the best of their ability. So I don't know how far they'll go this year, but they will beat the Dragons this week. So I'm really looking forward to the battle of the fullbacks, I'll say. So Gutherson, he will be, sort of shortlisted in that buy of the year with guys like Aaron Clark in that. And Will Kennedy, so he was in the top 5 for the Dally M points before it went behind closed doors. So he's having arguably his best ever season. So I think the Sharks will be looking to bounce back after that performance we talked about earlier with the Warriors. And I think that's going to happen. So I'll go Sharks 13 plus here for sure.
All right. Stay with you, Stace. The Titans and Manly. Manly looking, well, both of these teams looking to bounce back. The Titans only missing Mo and Tino, their representatives. Like you said, they're also the bottom team and now losing their best props. Manly only missing Lehigh, so I think he's grade 1. Automatically misses this game, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. So the Titans, they have been poor, like you mentioned. So I know at home they should probably be better, but man, I just can't pick them, mate. So I'm just looking at the table, Manly in 9th. They'll be hoping for a win to get them in that top 8. So I think some interesting matchups. Look at that right side of Manly. So they've got Cherry Evans there and Homole up against that Titans left edge, Foran and Fermor. So there's some guns in there. Some looking to put in some solid performances after some pretty brutal origin cuts for a couple of those guys. But like you mentioned, Tons, the Titans, they're sort of struggling when they had Tino and Big Mo doing a job for them in the middle. So you take those two guys out. I think Manly can do what New South Wales will do and just dominate the middle and then win it from there. So I'll go Manly 13 plus on that one.
Bobby?
Yeah, I agree with Stace. This is probably the game where Manly's going to right the ship after last week's loss to the Knights. They get Turbo back, they got Saab back, Tokiaho up in the forward pack. DCE is probably looking to make a statement performance in Clubland. And unfortunately, it's the Titans again who happen to be the team that's going to come up against a very determined Manly team who are wanting to solidify a place in the top 8. So who better to do that against than the Titans, who have been piss poor in the last few weeks and are bottom of the table. So Manly 13 plus for me.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a common theme. We'll look at the Titans run after this, but yeah, I think you're right. Knights and the Roosters. I'm looking at the Roosters. They're actually surprisingly not impacted by many of the origin picks outside of Crichton. So probably they were complaining, that they haven't got many of the buys during this time, but it's probably actually okay. And the return of Sam Walker. So I'm going to back up on Roosters on this. Bob?
Yep, Roosters for me. They've got a number of guys out, but like Crichton, Connor Watson, Collins, Toya, Spencer. But the Knights have got Kalen Ponga out, so he's pretty much the guy that carries their team. And without Kalen, it's, Fletcher Sharp's done well and when he's had to deputise for Kalen out the back. But I just don't see them having enough in the tank to take out the Roosters, who have also got Tedesco, who's playing out of his skins. He's trying to get his way back into Origin, and he's playing super well. You've got flipping Nawangani Tawasi, who's playing. He's probably scored the try of the decade, century. That guy. They've got too many guns in that Roosters team to overlook them, and I mean, yeah. Unfortunately for the Knights, they're probably going to get smoked 13 plus in this game too.
Whew. We've been on the same page until now. Now we're on different. Now we're on different pages here. So yeah, it is a bit of a tough match to pick with so many stars missing. So the Roosters, I think you mentioned, Bob, they've got 5 Origin guys out. That makes it makes them quite hard to gauge where they're at in this game. But just looking at some of these stats, so the Knights are languishing in 15th spot, but they've got the 3rd best defence in the comp. So they've got some attack issues, which is why they're near the bottom. But I think the inclusion of Jackson Hastings at 5'8" can offset some of those deficiencies. So I'm going to take the Knights in a close one. with Hastings playing a major role in reigniting that attack. So I'll go Knights by 6 in that one.
Gamble responsibly, people. Cowboys and the Dolphins. The Dolphins were impressive last week, and the Cowboys were horrible. Hopefully looking for a bounce back. Stace, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, in a shortened week, this could be the match of the round. So 6th versus 7th. I'm just looking at the table now. So whoever wins, they could potentially create some separation in that top 8. An all Queensland derby that adds some additional spice. But, in the pod, we talk a lot about the importance of the spine. It's obviously him being out, that's a big loss. But the Dolphins have got Averillo, Nikorima, Katoa, and Marshall King. So to me, that's still quality, eh? I'll take the Dolphins by 6 with that spine to get the job done.
Bob?
I'm going to pick the Dolphins too, for probably everything that Stace just said. Herbie Farnworth, man, last week, the way he's been playing, it's just been amazing. Like, that guy's gone from the Broncos and taken that same Broncos form to the Dolphins, and he hasn't missed a beat. Like, he's still one of the top centers in the game. In a team that probably, I don't know, like, they're doing all right for, what was this, their 3rd year in the comp, and they're at 7th. So, the Dolphins are doing a hell of a lot better than all of these other established teams. It probably will be a close one because the Cowboys aren't any team to sort of turn your back on, really. So I'm going to pick the Dolphins similarly in a close one.
Yeah, the outs and the ins probably balance out. Taulagi comes back in as well. Purdue slots in at 5'8". Yeah, I might actually back the Cowboys to bounce back after a hard week of training from Toddy. They'll probably need to bounce back, so I'll go for the Cowboys and an upset on that one. The Rabbits taking on the Doggies. Doggies losing a few players to Origin duties as well. Bobby, your thoughts on this? Caleb going to be happy with the game this week with all those players out? I think they miss a few.
Probably not. Probably not, because the one player that they need in Latrell is not there. So it's going to be an uphill battle for South, I feel, against quality Doggies team. Who have they lost? Kurt Mann, Burton, Max King, Critter. Yeah, they've still got enough guys in that squad to do the job against Souths. I feel like Souths, I think the only good thing they've got going for them at the moment is Kolomatangi. That guy is going to be able to get them up the field and do a lot of damage through the middle. But, I mean, it's going to be tough. I just feel like there's going to be a bit too much in the tank for the Doggies. It's also Lachie Galvin's first game starting. So that'll be interesting. It's going to add a different dimension to the Bulldogs attack. Whether that's going to be a positive change or not, it probably remains to be seen. I think the South team is probably a safe enough team for them to debut Lachie Galvin against. I don't know. Everything says pick the Dogs, but it's a new halves combo, and they're playing South, so we can be super unpredictable. But just for the fact that they don't have the trail playing, I'm going to pick the Doggies in a close one.
Stace, how you seen this?
Yeah, this is another tough one. I'm not sure. I think Max King's out and Kurt Mann is out, so that's two of their main middle guys. And you look at the Rabbitohs, who they've got in their middles. So Jai Arrow, who I'm not sure why he seems to be out of favour with Origin, but he's played Origin before. Keon was in the extended squad. I think they can win that battle through the middle and build on that. I know I agree with you, Bob, that Latrell's a big loss. Jai Gray's a different style of fullback where he's workaholic type guy. I wonder if that could just offset some of the stuff that they're doing there. So I'm going to take the Rabbitohs there. I think that they can win through the middle just with those two crucial guys out for the Bulldogs. So I'm going to take the Rabbitohs in a close one.
Jump on Stacey's multis. All right. And for the following Wednesday, go with your scoreline. Bobby, Queensland. New South Wales, how many points you going Queensland, mate?
Queensland by 10.
Nice. Stace.
You know what? We've hardly seen any whitewashes, even with teams. When there's been mismatches in the teams, and the desperation and the passion of Origin has always made the team that loses dig a bit deeper for game 2. So I think that New South Wales is a superior team, but I'm wary of that passion factor. So I'm also going to go Queensland to win a close game 2. I'll go Queensland by 2, but New South Wales will pump them in game 3 at home.
Pick New South.
Gamble responsibly. This guy's trying to trick us with his picks now.
I don't think this is a whitewash New South Wales style of team. Just like those 8 in a row Queensland teams couldn't barely get it done. It just hardly ever happens.
I agree that it's going to be a Queensland Wednesday then, and I'll go with 6 points. Nice, guys. Nice preview. Some interesting calls there. Let's go with a quick little multi just to set the punters off. I'll start with I'll agree with your big margins. I'll go Sharks 13 plus. One of Mulatalo double on his return. Bobby, what you got there?
I haven't even thought of anything yet, but let's have a look. Well, if I think that Manly's going to pump the Titans, I'm going to go for a Manly 13 plus and a Jason Saab double.
I'm looking at that Manly game as well. I think that Cherry Evans was hard done by. He's very professional, so I think he can bounce back from that and play well. Haumole is having a baby, which is why he left the Origin camp, but he's a gun. I think that Cherry Evans will set Haumole up for 2 tries. Them to show their class is why they're really Origin players. I'll go Haumole double in that game.
Oh, it could be a big Manly night that night. 2 doubles. All right. It must have to be a big Manly night. Nice, boys. Nice potty. Any last words, Stace? Any shout-outs? Listen out for the counter ruck. You guys will be dropping a good episode. I know Roger's going to want to get into it, explain why his Chiefs failed in the big game. Anything else to say, bro?
I suppose I'll say some words. Now we've got 3 Warriors supporters on here. I'll give us a bit of a plug. So just this season has been a real interesting season so far. So I can't recall you guys when you've done your preseason preview, but I don't know how many pundits would have had the Warriors and the Raiders in the top 4 at this point. So it really feels like one of those weird seasons where just a random team can win it from nowhere. Similar to what happened in 2005 when the Tigers won it. I think the Panthers was the same story in 2003. Now, one of the foibles we've seen so far this season has been how many teams are blowing large leads. So there was a game maybe 2-3 rounds ago where the Raiders were beating the Bulldogs 20-0 before the Dogs came back to win 32-20. And the Seagulls were winning 16-0 just on the weekend just past. It's the Knights. They were booing the Knights. And then the Knights come back and win 26-22. So in seasons gone by, those would be almost unassailable leads. This is, like I mentioned, this is a really weird season. And it highlights the importance of momentum. So if you can win back the momentum in a game, you can overcome 20-point leads in basically one half of football. And that brings me to our team, the Warriors. So the Warriors are the hardest team to try to win momentum off. So normally you need the opposition to give away a penalty or to make an error or something like that to give you a leg up to get that momentum. But the Warriors have given away the least amount of penalties this season. They also have the highest completion rate and the lowest errors. So getting that momentum back off the Warriors is quite difficult. And that's a key reason why we're in the top 4. So we've got really good systems in place, which means we aren't reliant on a few key players. So we've won without Dallin. RTS has been out for a bit of time. Fisher Harris. And now on the weekend we just have Barnett and Egan out. And the Warriors are still doing well with that next man up mentality, which I spoke about earlier. So in a weird season where anyone can win, I am daring to believe that the Warriors are that weird team that can win a premiership out of nowhere. So I've booked my accommodation already in Australia for grand final week. And I'm going to wait maybe a couple more weeks, but I'm going to get some tickets probably.
Let's go.
I am believing, man. So
Nice.
final thoughts there.
I like it also. I like the final thoughts. Bobby.
Yeah, I agree with Stace and everything that he just said. I think this is
Good
one of
to be a
those
Warriors guy.
this is one of those seasons where, you know, in the past it's been close, but I thought last year was a close season, but this year has been super close between teams. And when you look at the ladder, it's like, holy shit, we're this far into the season, and even the Titans could go on a run. It's not likely, but mathematically, these guys could go on a run and still make the top 8. Like, it's such a close season where from 5th down to 17th, there's only three games, three wins. It's like, come on, it's only 6 points between 5th and 17th. So it's a crazy spread, and it means that teams, you know what Stace is alluding to is like teams that you think would run away with the games have been caught, and the leads have changed, and teams that should have. There's lots of teams that are doing the up and down thing this season, which is why the table is so spread out like this. The Warriors haven't done that. Like, they've had their loss to the Raiders twice now, and then that big massive loss to the Storm earlier in the year. But all of their games have been super close. Apart from that, the first game against the Raiders, that was probably game rest. You know, they probably shouldn't have lost by that much. And then that loss to the Storm just felt like un-Warriors like. And when that Storm game happened and we lost by that much, there was that doubt in the back of your head, like, fuck, is it real? Was it real? Was I just hoping that my team? But what the Warriors have done after losses in previous years is they'd get like one win and then maybe a string of losses. And, even the loss against the Raiders, you thought, oh shit, that's our momentum done. Damn it, the boys were on that streak, and are they going to lose, one or two of these hard games coming up? But they managed to grind that game out against Souths, and then they won last week. So it's like, man, it's going to be a really hard season. And if the Warriors are going to be up for it, hell, they've got Panthers next. And man, I wouldn't even judge the Panthers based on where they are on the table. So yeah, it does feel like it's the Warriors' year. I'm gonna say it. This is our year, man. It really does feel like it's our year. We haven't been traveling like this. We've got Aaron Poe out there who's doing all he can to get all the fans on side and all those away games, banging on that drum. So it's like, I think people are feeling it. And you know what's funny is that everyone's starting to call the Warriors the Waz, like even in media. Like, the Waz.
What do you think about the Waz? Yeah, even in the presser, I hear them. What do you think about the Waz?
Yeah,
all saying the Waz now. But yeah, like you say, like it is a tight comp. Like I think as much as it's been a grind, those are the ones that we've wanted to, like over the past years. Like we called out the Dragons for being Kaea Kele. They're part of those teams that are in the slogger jam, like on 14 points. But they've lost like 4 games by, two or less points. And so it just goes to show, that was what the Warriors, a lot of those coulda, shoulda, woulda games because the comp's just that tight. And so, that's why, winning by 1 point or 2 points is so important. It doesn't matter how you get those 2 points because they all add up. And when it comes to the crunch time of the season, they really help. And so just the way the boys have gone about it, like building the season at the right times, doing these just before the bye too, usually we'd look at the bye and try and hopefully lead in there, with a nice buffer. And we'd usually come off lose before the bye. It's like, man, it's like your extra 2 points just moving in there. So both times this season, being able to get a grit, I can't remember who it was the first time, but it was a gritty win to move into the bye. I think it was the Manly win, and that was a real important one. And now this time as well, like just really showing good signs and allowing the boys to go away behind closed doors, just reset, do whatever they need to do to lift again. So the buys are coming at really the right time. It's exciting. it's exciting. Like Ivan said, the points don't matter till July, but we're almost there. So, yeah, I think definitely the way we're going, we should be top 4. So that's pretty much, the first marker. I'm hoping minor prims. Like the doggies still I think the Raiders look the real deal this year, and man, for Papa, we gave him his flowers earlier, but that'll be real fairy tale for everything he's done in his career. That's probably outside of our team. That's probably the only one that deserves a fairy tale ending, is being able to send Big Papa off as the highest cap, and the Raiders, the premiership for the Usos as well. But I'd rather we got it. That's the only,
Maybe give him the
we didn't
minor
get it, give it
premiership.
to the Raiders, because the doggies, you look at our roster again with the whatever Galvin brings to the table. I don't why fix something that's not broken, but at the same time, even the roster doesn't add more. So a lot of that comes down to Serraldo.
That's a good point, because you look at the Bulldogs, the Raiders, and the Warriors, not necessarily the best rosters per se, but all three of those teams, they really dig deep and they play for each other. So the Bulldogs have got the scrambling defense, and they're all a close-knit unit, same as the Warriors, same as the Raiders. So, there's no doubt Lachie Galvin's a good player, but you mentioned Reed Mahoney and how he was at. Does that disruption worth the potential extra guy? Hopefully not. Hopefully.
Yeah, and that's why why you're sitting at the top, you guys are humming away, and Sexton looked like the man, and that just, why bring that doubt? Even if Lachie is the man, you had a guy who was the man, and just trust in that. So it's almost, just an extra complication, maybe for depth, but at the same time, it just brings noise they probably didn't need. So hopefully that derails them.
I think it will. I honestly think it will. It's a business decision that they've made. They're trying to future-proof the doggies, but at what cost? This is one of those opportunity cost moments for the Bulldogs, where it's okay, we brought in Lachie Galvin because his potential and blah blah blah. But at what cost? Because their team was going great guns without him. And now you've brought Lachie Galvin with the media circus show that has come with him from the Tigers, and how he left the Tigers. There's just way too much noise. They've now told Reed Mahoney he can look around, and same with Sexton. So it's I don't know, man. Do you really want to give your 100% guts to the team this year, knowing how they've kind of shown you half of the door is open? So it's you can have a look out, but we still want you to win a premiership for it. That's you want loyalty back from your organization if you're going to spill your guts and sweat and tears every week for the team. And it just seems like they've done those guys real dirty. I thought Reed Mahoney was their go-to guy there. Shit, and then next minute, stop getting picked and see you later. He's now been asked to look elsewhere. So I think it will be major disruption for Bulldogs, and they'll be doing everything they can to say that it isn't jumping up and down when Galvin scores his try. That's all for show, man. I reckon that's, just look at Reed Mahoney. That's the reality. Reed Mahoney is, fucking Sexton getting interviewed after the game, and I thought he was joking. That might have looked like a joke to us, but he was this young kid's coming up to me. He's like, "Yeah, you're an hooker. Where the fuck should I be, hooker? We're leading. What?" You're not lying, because I can see Reed trudging off the field, looking sad balls that he's getting hooked. That's how you take it. It's what the fuck? We're leading. What? This fool doesn't need to come on and do anything, but he comes on, scores a try, and everyone celebrates like he's won them a grand final. He's the Angel Reese of the NRL. All potential, hasn't won anything yet.
Nice, boys. Nice final thoughts on the Warriors there, Stace. We're there. Nice, Usos. Thank you for the wrap. Any other shout outs? Just thanks again, Stace, for raising the Black Dog Institute. Go check them out. Support them where you guys can. Thanks for tuning in. You can go check us out on YouTube and all your social media platforms. Check us out on the website, WesWes weswesnet.com. You'll find us and all our other podcasts on there on the WesWes Network. For today, thanks.
Sure.
Ciao, boys.